Hey everybody, what's going on? This is Dr. Jeff C. May, and welcome to another episode of Doctor's Orders. And in this episode, we're going to talk is sitting affecting your sperm quality? Yes, I said it. I said sperm. I said swimmers. I said all those things because shout out to everybody watching. You have actually, I don't know if you've ever won the championship, but you won the very first race you were ever entered in. Congratulations to all of us in the Lucky Sperm Club. But in all seriousness, today we're going to get into these things called SODs, sitting-oriented disorders. And this is something that it'll blow your mind. It'll blow your mind. This is also going to fill in a lot of the gaps for people who wonder like, hey, should I be adjusted? How often should I be adjusted by a chiropractor? All of those things. And we're going to dive into the science of it. I've got so much, like the last 3 days, I've been sitting here reading research, preparing for this. And a lot of these podcasts, I'll just rip off the cuff. I will rip this because I'm passionate about helping people. I'm passionate about seeing people win. And ultimately, though, like there's some people that want a little reason why. And I'm going to show you a lot of reason why and why this is also affecting our kids at school, why this is affecting hormone production for pretty much anybody and everybody who finds themselves sitting more than they should. Yes, sitting's the new smoking, and really what to do about it. What happens when you may go to the chiropractor the first time and they talk about a schedule and you're like, man, 2 to 3 times a week, like that seems like a lot, and why that is. And so we're going to break that down in today's episode, and it's going to be really, really fun. And at the core of it, it's going to be about motion. Motion is lotion, baby. Motion is lotion, and getting more of it in your life and how that's going to impact it. Because I know everybody's sitting there listening, no matter at what level you find your health, healthier is better, right? Healthier, happier, and more productive is something that no matter what level you are, and I've gotten to work with top level athletes. I still get to work with them every week. And I get to work with just ordinary people like myself. Like I got adjusted today. And so everywhere in between, realizing that healthier, happier, more productive is always something that you want to strive for. So we talk about this thing when there was a study back in, this was like back in 1997, and it talks about the typical classroom desks. And so for all of us, we may not be sitting in those desks anymore, but at one time we did. At one time, I found myself sitting through those desks, K through 12 in O'Neill, Nebraska. Shout out to the OHS Eagles. I found myself in those desks, and we all did. And they're rigid. They're one size fits all. And they really, really make us, actually kind of slowly lean forward and taking lecture notes. And you find yourself for hours and hours a day in these positions. And what they came out in 2004 is that the inevitable sitting-oriented disorders, yes, and they have a name for this, SODs, shows that uncomfortable sitting, bad posture, increased neck and shoulder problems, strained joint. And then here's the thing. Here's the kicker. You're like, why were you talking about sperm in the beginning, Dr. Jeff? Because weakened fluid circulation and easy fatigue. This is what happens. And that'll affect men's sperm quality, believe it or not. But it goes beyond that, right? It goes into hormone production. It goes into a lot of things. And we know that even if you were to sit, as you're sitting, and you were going to pay attention to your breathing. This is simple, right? Simple postural breathing. You think, well, breathing's pretty important. And I know I need to breathe every single day, every single minute to get oxygen in my tissues and everything else and just live, right? If you don't breathe, you die. So that's pretty obvious. I think we can all agree on that. So your postural, if you were to sit there and lean forward and just slowly creep forward in your chair and in more pressure, those of you who are watching live, you can kind of see this. And then you just like take a couple minutes and just sit there and breathe. Just see what that feels like. And then sit up straight and kind of lean, get your shoulders back, and then take a couple minutes and breathe. And you tell me which one's better. Like this is not rocket science, people. The pharmaceutical companies are making billions of dollars because of bad postural effects, of course, the timeline of people's lives. So guess what? I'm not taking down Big Pharma. Big Pharma is always going to do its thing. And we still run to medicine. We run to medicine and be like, oh, save me, save me, save me. It's kind of a joke. When it comes down to it, we got to do our part, right? So in life-threatening situations, praise God for medications that save lives, but you will never get healthier on medications. Like they may temporarily get you to a point where your body can take over and heal. But what I always like to say is you cannot out-medicate yourself into choices that you habitually put yourselves into, like into situations. You just can't. You can't expect to make poor health choices and get good health results out of that. Like it just doesn't make sense. So this will even affect your thinking. So at the core of it, like, how does chiropractic come into play? Well, chiropractic is all about motion. Chiropractic is all about normal homeostatic physiology, like how your body moves. And most people that get caught on, I think it's about neck pain, back pain, and we can start to think about musculoskeletal health and all those things. But realize that from a neuromusculoskeletal function, that's one thing. You also need motion for brain function, cognitive effect, and visceral function. Visceral, anytime you ever come across the word visceral, just think organs. Every single organ in your body, that's your viscera. And that's important. That's digestion. That's all of these things. So what you're trying to say is that by not moving and we lose that range of motion, it's going to affect my cognitive function. Yes. It's going to affect my visceral, how my organs function. Yes. It's going to affect my metabolism, my sleep cycles. Yes, yes, and yes, like all of these things. And so to understand the importance of chiropractic, you have to simply understand the importance of proper spinal and extremity joint motion. Motion is lotion. When we say motion is lotion, this is what we mean. We mean and understanding that so many things in lifestyle are related to lack of poor motion. Like we already talked about bad sperm quality, bad motion, bad cognitive effect, all of these things. It just blows my mind. And so let's look at this. It comes up from time to time in the office, like when you're in your 40s, okay? Let's just say you're in your 40s. Young kids, it doesn't necessarily apply. But say you're in your 40s, you go to the chiropractor, and they recommend this regimen of care. And you think, well, man, that seems like it should take less time. And it's been longer. Well, first you got to look at the quality of tests they took. Like what were the diagnostic imaging and scans that they did? So that's important. But realize there's a significant length of time that has to be allowed because there's a remolding stage in healing. There's a remolding stage. So we've got our spine, we've got our organs, we've got our muscles, and all that attaches together through connective tissue. Connective tissue does not have the best blood supply. So realizing that unless we give it time to remold in a better position, i.e. frequency of visits, frequency of chiropractic in the beginning of your care, unless you go through that process, anywhere from 3 weeks to 12 months, depending on the chronicity and the history and all the damage you've accumulated over your life, you're really never going to get much more results than an aspirin. And people will be like, yeah, I used to go, I felt better, but then it just came back. It came back because your body was never given what it needs in terms of time and repetition and potentially strengthening, exercise, follow-up, all those things that are crucial and important to really, instead of making chiropractic as your support system in terms of becoming healthier, happier, more productive, and then using it as a maintenance system, it becomes your crutch. And nobody wants that. Like for crying out loud, if that's all it's going to be, then it's cheaper to take aspirin. So realize that there's that remolding phase in that connective tissue. And what we do so much is we always think, well, man, okay, I'm going to change my posture. Like, yeah, that's important, but you also have to build some strength. And so where does it all start? A lot of times we think it's the backpacks for kids. It's really not. Like, it's not so much the backpacks, it's the sitting. And listen to this. Add in the traumas, right? So the slips, trips, and falls over your life, sedentary lifestyle, poor nutrition, and increased emotional stress. And I think we can all agree that the emotional stress in today's world is higher than it's ever been. This equation becomes obvious why virtually every citizen of industrial society suffers from segmental motion complex deficiency, aka subluxation, and postural deformities. This is why we all fall into this. So this is a research. Shout out to James Chestnut, who compiled all this, and it's beautiful. It's beautiful. Listen, for every inch of anterior head carriage, so anterior head carriage, if you were to look at someone from the side, their ear should line up with the outside of their shoulder, okay? So every inch it goes forward, this anterior, and you see these people walking around, you see them on their phones, like you see this anterior head carriage. So for every inch of anterior head required, the work required of the muscles in the back, the posterior cervical muscles, is effectively increased by a factor of 10. So what this means is that for every inch your head drifts forward over the course of your life, those muscles have to work 10 times as hard to help offset that. And you wonder why there's pressure there. You wonder why people say, I carry my stress here. You wonder why there's so many issues, and we see this. And I feel this is important information, because if we don't get this out there, at least to one person, shout out to everybody who's watching, liking, commenting, sharing, like get this out to people, because like for crying out loud, help somebody. Like it doesn't do you any good to listen to this and not share it. So helping people do this is because that leads to headaches, poor sleep, anxiety, depression, like the pressure over time. Just think about it. So this is probably like part one. I've got so many more notes, so many more highlights, but like I don't want this to run effectively so long, but this is going to give you a place to think about as you look at this. And the real key is get a chiropractor in your life who knows this stuff. Like talk to a clinic. If you need help, we find chiropractors all the time, every week, across the country. Currently, we're just looking for one in Montana, for a patient who's moving there. And then we got South Dakota yesterday. I talked to a patient. So, we want to help be that resource, but really, really, really find them. And then as you can sit less, that'll help. Anything that you can get extension, and extension exercises, which that can be another workshop, coming up in the office. We have those live here in Jordan, Minnesota. So those are the keys. I hope you found this, a powerful episode, but take action on that and let me know your questions as always. Appreciate you guys. Till next time, get healthier, happier, and more productive. We'll talk to you soon.